All right, welcome to Thursday Night Ticket. We got Matthew Weatherby in the house. I'm sure there's a bunch of college games this weekend that we're going to talk about. Some big ones down there, and Sean Miller, of course. The game tonight. We'll talk about. We'll just set it up because bottom of the hour here, coming up in half an hour. Rice at Charlotte. Rice is 2-1, Charlotte's 1-2. AAC game. I don't know if you're interested in that game at all, but the line is pretty tight. I mean, it opened at -5.5 for Rice, and it's down to 2.5. So I guess there's a lot of money coming in on Charlotte at home. Over unders 4 to 4.5. Not the biggest game of the weekend, but you going to tune in tonight?
No. I was talking to Jim earlier today, and I said, man, I love college football, and I watch a lot of it. This one's just not one that's going to get me to turn on the TV, man. This is two really bad football teams. You go look at their schedule and their record, and man, they only showed up against the FCS schools. Anybody with a pulse, they've looked awful. The total 41.5 tonight. They're expecting a lot of defense in Charlotte, and I can't blame them. Their offenses look terrible.
It's interesting. I always like they used to do the MACtion, late and used to be later in the season, like into November when they started doing, and they still do it. I mean, it's it's in November, but it starts on Tuesday, November 4th, so you got those Tuesday games. But really, I think we talked about it a little bit. We're basically 2 weeks away here. Week 7 in the college football, October 6th. There's Wednesday night games. Liberty, UTEP, Missouri State, Middle Tennessee State. So basically, all of October, Liberty, New Mexico State. What league is that?
That would be the
Sun Belt.
No, it's not I think it's the Conference USA.
There it is, Conference USA. Yeah, so Conference USA is going to start playing on. It's an interesting league. There's not one team that's undefeated. There's only one team with no wins. So those games are it's 7:00 on Wednesday night, and
the ones that you're looking at right now, New Mexico and Liberty, or New Mexico State and Liberty, is on Tuesday, October 14th.
So now Tuesday, October 14th, they start playing the Tuesday games. So college football now is, basically in 3 weeks, we're at the point where college football is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which is it's out of control at this point. I mean, the games are on ESPN, ESPN2, but it's if you're a football fan, like you said, you got to be kind of a degenerate football fan to watch some of these, but every once in a while you get one of these crazy games on Wednesday nights, and it's if there's are you a baseball guy at all?
Oh yeah. I sadly I love the Red Sox, so it's
you know what, they're going to be in the playoffs though. I mean, here's the thing, like once baseball, the playoffs start, it's tough because you got the playoff games going up against some of the football games and everything. I mean, it is what it is, but
yeah, I mean, they talk about it. I feel like, everybody always puts out the graphic every year of when you reach like the football pinnacle, because there's like a certain, it may be that week in October now where you've got football on every day for it's 50 some odd straight days or something like that. Like it's some ridiculous amount of days. And that may be the start of it, but
I think that probably is. I think you're looking at Wednesday, October 8th. Because you got Wednesday, you got Monday night football, then there's nothing Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, obviously Sunday and Monday in the NFL. And then the next week, October 14th, you got Tuesday, and then you got Tuesday. Basically, there's 8 weeks of Tuesday football and Wednesday football in the NCAAs, which is once again, look, Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech. I mean, but I think, the argument used to be, and NIL kind of killed this as well, but and ESPN and all this stuff. But the argument used to be, hey, listen, come to Florida State, come to thing, you're on TV every week. Well, listen, man, I mean, the MAC is on every week. That that league is on, the Conference USA is on every week. You're on primetime and there's no one else on. So if you're a player and hey, listen, come play at Delaware, come play at, Jacksonville State, come play at Kennesaw State. And you're gonna be playing on TV in front of everybody, and you get a full scholarship. So
yeah, I will say I don't think the recruiting pitch for Group of 5 schools has ever been easier in terms for some of these kids. Like yeah, hey, you can go. If you're a low or mid-level 3-star, and you're determining between going and sitting on the bench at a P4 school for a period of time or something like that. Now the recruiting pitch is like, hey, come play. You're going to be on national television every time you play because every game's televised now.
You get paid.
Yeah, you're going to get paid, right? And then, if you play well enough, then you're going to go in the transfer portal and you're going to go play at one of those programs that you want to play at anyways.
100%. Yeah, yep. It's crazy. I mean, that transfer portal, my buddy's the head coach at Coastal Carolina for baseball. Obviously, they made it to the championship game. It's changed the whole sport. It's changed all of college at this point. So we'll get to some of these games. Obviously, there's a couple of big time ranked games. Basically, the first game on the slate on Saturday, we're just skip over Tulsa, Oklahoma State, Iowa, Rutgers. But Texas,
no one wants to watch that Iowa Rutgers game.
Yeah, it's Brian Rowe will be there. Brian Rowe will be there trying to scalp tickets for that game. Ask Eckel about him next time you talk to him. Texas Tech, Utah, number 17 versus number 16, right off the bat, 12 o'clock on Fox, Saturday, Utah 3.5. That's one, two. There's not a lot of all ranked games. The other one I see is Auburn 22 at Oklahoma at 3:30. And then looking at the late slate, Illinois plays Indiana 7:30 in primetime. That's a big time game for both programs. Obviously, Indiana was in the playoffs last year, and Illinois is trying to get where they were. But the 3 ranked games, when you started to look at this slate early in the week, which games stuck out for you right away?
I think it's Texas Tech and Utah. It's because it's really a coming out party for both these schools. They've kind of hidden in the Big 12 because nobody's, I feel like, very high on the Big 12, especially with the way the ACC is played and Arizona State losing at Mississippi State. When Arizona State, lost, they kind of swept the Big 12 under the rug. There's a lot of quality teams in the Big 12, and
there's like 800 teams in the league. I mean, there's 16 teams. It's a pretty solid league.
Yeah, but Texas Tech and Utah they're both going to be right in the thick of the Big 12 championship conversation as we wind down into the back half of the season. And for both these quarterbacks too, Devon Dampier is Utah's quarterback. He's played fantastic so far this year. And Baron Morton has played really well for Texas Tech as well. But neither of them have really been tested. If you want to make the argument that Utah got tested against UCLA, then I have what feels like about a 50-page notebook worth of stuff that would say otherwise. But this is the first true test. And it's Utah gets lucky. They're at home. But Texas Tech is a really good team, and they unloaded NIL money into that transfer portal this offseason. I mean, their roster is completely made over with people that they brought in. And so it's kind of time to see. It's an interesting style matchup because you've got Utah, who is Kyle Whittingham's team. It is Kyle Whittingham's system, and he's going to take his guys and he's going to plug them in, and they're going to play Utah football. And then you've got Texas Tech, who went all in on NIL after they got a taste of winning last year and really rebuilt and backfilled this roster in the holes that they had to fill through the transfer portal. So you got one roster that's built a little more old-fashioned. You got one roster that's built the new way. It's going to be a clash of styles on Saturday at 12.
It's interesting, too, because, I'm looking, obviously, right now, this is the only ranked game for either, for both teams in the season. Obviously, Iowa State is 12, and they don't play either of these two teams. So there's 3 teams ranked. However, you got Houston sitting there at 3-0, and with a win over Colorado last week, they go to Oregon State. If they win that, they're 4-0, and then they got Texas Tech at home next week, which feels like a pretty big game if Texas Tech wins. Obviously, BYU's still 2-0, TCU's 2-0, UCF is 2-0. So there's a bunch of teams in this league that are still unbeaten. So there's 3 ranked teams right now, and Cincinnati's 2-1 and always is a pretty tough team. Obviously, in the playoff a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Baylor's there, Arizona State. Obviously off the stumble, but
they're Arizona State's going to bounce back.
Arizona's still 3-0 somehow, all the way down the rankings. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting, and because there's so many teams, everybody doesn't play everybody, so it's a big game. I mean, right off the bat, at home, it's going to be 10 a.m. in Utah. They don't drink anyway, so like they're not going to be all, they'll be all fired up. But
so that's BYU doesn't drink. Utah does drink. There is a distinct difference there.
I thought all the Mormons don't drink.
No, Utah they drink.
Okay.
Now
I know it's a great maybe Salt Lake is. We had a roofing company there. Salt Lake is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great campus, and obviously one of the greatest movies of all time, SLC Punk. But all right, 10 a.m. I might have to get up. Where is game day this week?
Game day is going to be at Miami.
Okay.
So that interesting choice. The 3 ranked games they had, and they chose Miami. So that was interesting. Especially with that matchup with FSU coming down the road, you would have figured that would have been their game where they went and saw Miami.
What? Yeah, I don't understand why. Like, I said 9:30. Why not go to Indiana?
And I get not going back to Oklahoma. That's understandable, right?
Yeah,
but,
you can't. Yeah. Go to Indiana. You got 2 top 20 teams playing.
Yeah, you've got a really good slate of games, and they chose. I guess the one with the biggest brand value is what they chose, which it's ESPN, so that checks out.
It's interesting, by the way. In Illinois ranks 9th. Indiana's 19th. Illinois, obviously, after last year, Indiana after last year at home. And Indiana the line started at 4.5, and it's up to 6.5 now. So people are piling on Indiana, which I think is pretty interesting. You look at the stats here, the leaders, the quarterbacks, 709, 708. They're basically 56 of 78, 55 for 76.
Mm-hmm.
The rushing leaders, both basically 222, 217, receiving leaders, 289, 299. They really look similar in the stats. But the matchup predictor gives Indiana a big 63% chance to win. I mean, that primetime game, obviously 7:30, is that I'm sure you're kind of looking forward to that one too, right?
Yeah. 6.5 feels like a lot for Indiana. I'm not. I was kind of like Kurt Cignetti is a very good head coach. He's also a very loudmouth head coach. And, those two things can be very good and they can be very bad. Right now it's very good because all he's done is win, which is what he said he was going to do at Indiana. He was a feel-good story for a big part of last year until it got to the point where it was like, all right, man, like enough is enough. We get it. You're confident. You like to say stuff on national media, whatever. Just like cut it out. Enough is enough. We get who you are. You don't have to keep, boasting like this. We get it. But for Illinois, this is like this is the game right here. Is there are teams where you look at and go like there are games where it's a springboard game, right? Where if you win, this is going to springboard your season and the trajectory for the rest of your year. And if Illinois wants to make the playoff, then they're going to have to beat Indiana because next week they're going to have it's next week. Making sure there wasn't a there. Yeah, they have USC coming to town, right? Which is a really good football team in their own respect. But this is it for Illinois right here. If they win this game, the momentum swings in their favor. a big one that I think of, and it's just because it's one that I remember well, just because I'm a fan of the team. But Georgia back in 2017, they don't do what they did in 2017 if they didn't go up to Notre Dame and South Bend and win that football game.
That's
But they
right.
did, and it propelled them for the rest of the year. Like it changed the trajectory of that year for Georgia. The same can be said for Illinois right here as they go to Bloomington. And I honestly, the line's moving in Indiana's favor. I'm not a sharp by any measure. I picked Illinois to win this football game when I was looking at the board this week, and I'm standing by that. I like Luke Altmaier and I like Brett Bielema, and I believe in what Brett Bielema has built at Illinois, and I believe in what he's built over time. I think is a big factor. Indiana is built largely through the portal still, right? It's year 2 for Kirk Snetti. What Illinois has done is something that Brett Bielema has done over a few years here. Like he's built towards this season, and they have to capitalize on this opportunity.
It's interesting. When you look at the schedule, obviously if they win this game, Illinois, they got USC, and then down the line they have Ohio State, which obviously they could probably afford to lose that and still make the playoffs. But yeah, like you said, I think that's a pretty big game for them. I was looking through the schedule and looking through all the other games. It's a little sad that Oregon State and Oregon are playing. What is it? The 9th to 20th, September 20th instead of. I mean, it's usually like right around Thanksgiving. It's late in the season, and there's been so many years where Oregon and Oregon State has been a massive, massive game, and now that Oregon State is just kind of a wandering nomad a little bit. They're 0-3, and Oregon. It's a little sad to see what's happened. Hopefully they got to get. I don't know where they're going. Are they getting into the league sometime? Like
the Pac-12 is expanding, I think, after this year in terms of teams. So they're gonna have a much more set schedule.
It's just tough. I mean, when you're trying to do,
but it does feel. And there's another one that I'll throw out there with you. Both of the schools that got left out, hung up to dry, in that Pac-12 falling apart is the Apple Cup is played this week as well with Washington and Washington State. Now it's not going to be a close game. It's a 20.5-point spread, but having the Civil War in the Apple Cup playing in September feels very odd.
Yeah, those games used to be end of the season, snow on the ground. Like, I mean, and you just look at Washington. Washington's once again a couple years removed from playing for a national championship.
Yeah.
Washington State, Mike Leach and all these other years. I mean, they've been really, really good, and just to have these games, it's. I know a lot of people like the way the landscape is, but just to see those games early in the season is tough sometimes.
Yeah, I know that it doesn't matter for a lot of people. I get that, but like when these games are scheduled does matter, because like for me watching Georgia Tennessee last weekend was a little bit weird. Like it's always been a later November game. It's never been in September. This year it's in September. That felt odd. I felt the same way when Georgia changed their series with Auburn, and they moved it up because that game used to be played in November as well, because it used to go Auburn would play Georgia and then Auburn would play Alabama, and I think that was probably the driving factor moving that.
Look, the last time Florida State won the national title, they won it because of that Alabama Auburn that return. That crazy game. And, that was right before, it's different. Once again, different world back then again. Yeah. But it's just, I think more like you're just looking through like the Oregon State, like rivalries. You don't have to go back, 2022 and 2023. They played November 26th, November 24th, and both teams were ranked. Like Oregon was number 6. Oregon was 16 and 23 and 22. Oregon State was 21 and Oregon was 9, and Oregon State won, up 38-34. But, there's been a couple years where, obviously Oregon usually goes in ranked, but like a higher ranked team will come in. Oregon back at 2000, they're number 5, looking to maybe get into like the play, get into the national championship game, and Oregon State beats them like late in the season and knocks off their hopes, or whatever. And Oregon State was 4 at that point, so it's just I once again it's a different world if you're a football purist and stuff. I know stuff moves on.
Yeah, it's really the like the interstate rivalries. They need to be. They belong after Thanksgiving. That's when they belong. That's when they've always been played. It's called rivalry week. Well, rivalry week for a reason, and that's when they're supposed to be played. Landscape changes, things change, but that doesn't change my feelings on when they should be played, because that's when they should be played, when the stakes are highest. When you have and again, I'll go back and I harp on this, but in the ruining of the best regular season of all of sports, because that's what college football was. Every game mattered. You lived and died off of one game, and that even mattered with the 14 playoff as well, where you could go in and you could lose that game and your rival could end your season. Like, it could ruin your hopes. Last year, if Michigan and Ohio State play that football game, Ohio State is done. Like, the year's over for Ohio State. And it ends exactly how it should have ended. But the way things are now, Ohio State brushes that Michigan loss off, and they move on to the playoff where they –
It actually helped them because they got on the weaker side of the bracket.
They got on the weaker side of the bracket, and it helps you, like, losing a football game like that helps Ohio State refocus. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yep. You didn't get those opportunities. You weren't afforded those opportunities in the past years, and it's really frustrating, to be honest with you.
Big game at 3:30. There's a couple. Michigan's playing Nebraska. That's Michigan's only 1.5 point favorite, but Auburn goes to Oklahoma. I think first time ever in the regular season, I believe. And Oklahoma's 7.5. I guess I don't know. I know Mateer is a very good player, and I don't know what are your thoughts on this game?
The Auburn Oklahoma game is interesting. It takes point spreads, everything else, throw it out the window. This is the Jackson Arnold reunion game. People may remember how bad Oklahoma was on offense last year, and he was the quarterback piloting them. Now, was it all his fault? Definitely not. Their top 5 receivers were hurt, like out for the year hurt, and their running game wasn't much better either. So it's definitely a game where Jackson Arnold could feel like, hey, you guys gave up on me, and you didn't really give me a fair shake. Like, this is his revenge spot. I still like Oklahoma much better. Their defense is fantastic, and John Mateer is, honestly, I think he's the front runner for the Heisman right now, and he should be the front runner for the Heisman because he's been that good. And, it'll give Oklahoma fans shades of Baker Mayfield when he was running around doing all his stuff there at Oklahoma.
I'm going to give you, because those are the 3 ranked games that we just talked about. I'm going to give you a game. It might not even be off the board that much. I know that the spread is pretty tight. It has one team that was in the playoff last year. And had a tough loss early in the season, and another team that is they're both 2-1, and it's a night game. Can you guess which one it is?
Off the top of my head, no. It's
Arizona State at Baylor, right? So Arizona State's playing. We talked about the Big 12 a little bit. Iowa State's 4-0, Houston 3-0, Texas Tech 3-0, Utah 3-0, BYU 2-0, TCU 2-0, UCF 2-0, Arizona 3-0. Now, Arizona and Baylor both have losses. Baylor fell to Auburn on opening week. I think we talked about that a little bit on the show. Yeah. But came back, beat SMU 48-45 in double overtime, and then beat Sam Houston State. Obviously, Arizona State went to Mississippi State and lost 24-20. We talked about that. It's an early season game for 2 teams. Look, if you lose this game, you're done. Like, the season's not over. Obviously, you can go on a run and finish 10-2 or whatever. But, you got no chance to make a playoff. You got no chance to do anything. If you win, however, Arizona State going into Baylor. Arizona State's got, then they got TCU, Utah, Texas Tech, Iowa State. Arizona State could play their way back into a playoff, obviously going on a run. I mean, this is a game you talk about, a springboard game. And, same thing for Baylor. They have Baylor actually has a lot more of a manageable schedule after this game. They have Arizona State at home, at Oklahoma State, Kansas State, TCU, Cincinnati, UCF. They don't play anyone else ranked right now. Obviously, they beat SMU until Utah later in the season. So for both of these teams in this wild 16-team Big 12, I think this is a pretty interesting game. You expect the over-under 60. It's up to 60 now, 59.5. I mean, I guess these, obviously with Robertson at quarterback and Levitt, coming back, I mean, a lot of rushing, a lot of receiving. I think they're expecting a lot of points in this game, right?
Yeah, no, as they should. Both of these defenses haven't looked fantastic. You saw the Baylor result and what they showed you on defense against both Auburn and SMU. Not exactly inspiring on the defensive side of the football from Baylor, but the same can be said for Arizona State. Now, what I will say, in credit to Arizona State and that trip they took to Starkville, Mississippi, is the blitz that they dialed up on that play that won Mississippi State football game. The blitzing DB tripped. If he doesn't trip, he makes that sack and that play never happens. Arizona State, they go home happy. And you're not talking about that slip up in Starkville. They're still ranked pretty high this year. But I think it's a really good example of the Big 12's problem in total. And that's the fact that they have a lot of really good football teams. They don't have any great football teams, though. And so they did this last year, which is they cannibalized themselves. They had chances.
Everyone's 9-3. Everyone's 10-4, 9-4, 10-3, and then no one ends up going 12-1 and making the.
I mean, they were talking about Colorado for a potential playoff spot, later in the year last year, and then Colorado loses like 3 of their last 4 or something. Like that. They didn't even make the Big 12 title game. Arizona State kind of came out of nowhere. They were picked dead last. But again, last year Arizona State was picked dead last, and they won the conference. Like that shows
you what the league. Yep. Yeah.
It embodies the league perfectly.
This league. I mean, look, there right now. I mean, there's 16 teams in the league, and like once again, we're only a couple weeks into the season, but there's only. Of the 16 teams, only 2 of them have losing records, Colorado and Kansas State. And Kansas State was ranked going to Ireland. And, that it's been a debacle. But, I mean, the league is, I mean, you said, like, it's these – I'd be stunned at the end of the year. Someone will finish the year, 11-2 and, make the playoff or whatever you'd think. But, it could be, I don't know, maybe a couple teams get hot, but it's just a crazy, crazy, wacky league all the time.
I'll give you one that I kind of like, and I haven't done full homework on this team, so it's not a like go throw money on it or anything by any measure when I throw this out there, but a team that I really like in the Big 12 where you kind of just look up at the end of the year, you're like, oh, how did they get there? TCU. And they play SMU this weekend in the battle for the Iron Skillet, which is a big rivalry game for them. It means a lot. And I'm pretty sure TCU is favored. I picked TCU to win that football game. But their quarterback is fantastic. I mean, Josh Hoover can spin it. And he is really fun to watch. You got to see some of that on Labor Day when they played UNC. And that's not going to change. People just tend to forget that Sonny Dykes was in the national championship game a couple years ago. Like it's not that far removed. He's still a championship head coach. Like he's got that pedigree. And when I'm talking, like when you look at a league like that is as deep as it is top to bottom, and talent wise, you're looking at pretty level playing fields week in and week out. You got to go to the head coaches. And it's a reason that you would feel good about Utah. It's a reason you'd feel good about TCU. And it's a reason you'd feel good about Arizona State bouncing back. Is because you look at the people in charge and you trust them. You trust what they've done and what they're doing so far this year to get them to the end of the season and work their way and navigate those schedules when, they may not really have a talent edge week in and week out, but they just go out there and they have a better game plan and they out execute them every weekend.
And they got Arizona State next week. So, once again, I mean, when you start looking at these, this league, every week, and once again, sometimes there's not, excuse me, going to be a number next to the name, like Iowa State's 12th. However, Arizona State, once again, in the playoff last year, I mean, that's a big game. TCU, Arizona State, a big game, especially if both teams win. And I think each week, I mean, that's going to be one of these more fun leagues to look at because all these teams are all very talented.
Yeah, every week's a big week in the Big 12. As much as and I think maybe the SEC would have probably the second because they also have like that same kind of middle tier where maybe their middle tier is better than the Big 12's middle tier, but they still have a similar dilemma to the Big 12. And again, you kind of saw that play out last year with the SEC, but where every week's a big week, like top to bottom. In the Big 10, you can go play Northwestern. That's an option. It's on the schedule. You can go play Rutgers. You can go play Iowa right now, a team that can't throw the football. Like those games you look at, if you're a big team, you're like, okay, we should go win that football game. And in the Big 12, there's not those games. Like, yeah, Kansas State hasn't played well. Avery Johnson's still a really good quarterback, right? And they were really good last year. Like this isn't a league where you can take a week off and still find yourself in contention at the end of the year because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so kickoff just happened here. Top of the, I know we're probably not going to be tuning in much to that game. We have another game kicking off here in just under 45 minutes. Miami at Buffalo. I believe you will be watching that game, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Buffalo 11.5. I have Buffalo. Once again, I'm a soccer guy. I have Buffalo in 100 parlays with Manchester City, who won today, and Barcelona, who won today. And Josh Allen to score and some of these other plays. But I mean, do you expect anything other than 2-score win for Buffalo here tonight?
No, I expect nothing less than Buffalo to run away with this football game. I mean, it's 11.5 for a reason, right? Miami has shown not even a pulse on defense over the first 2 weeks. Like they've given you nothing. They didn't stop New England, who the Raiders stopped. They didn't stop Indianapolis. Now, granted, Indianapolis, their offense, it held pat when they played Denver. So that, maybe you result that one up to like, hey, we lost to a good football team. But, the Bills are a good football team. And if Indianapolis is going to score on every drive in the first half, you better bet that Buffalo's got the exact same capabilities. I saw a stat that Josh Allen has thrown for at least 2 touchdowns every time he's played Miami in his career.
Yeah, Mark Heckel wrote a story. I got to see if I can find it. I mean, it's ugly, the numbers, when you look at what the Bills have done against Miami. They've, including the playoffs, they've won 6 straight, 9 straight at home, 15-17 under Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's 882 win percentage is the second best of any head coach against a single opponent, and second best by any opponent against in NFL history. Minimum 15 games. Only Paul Brown's mark against the Cardinals is better back in like the 1800s or whenever that was. Josh Allen's 8-1 head-to-head against Tua. He's 20-7 in primetime games, which is the third best all-time behind Steve Young and Lamar Jackson. It's a big number. And then this is just the 5th time in NFL history that a team allowing 30-plus points in its first 2 games will face a team scoring 30-plus in its first 2 games. The scoring team is 4-0 in those matchups. The last time it happened, the Cowboys versus the Dolphins in 2019 was a 31-6 Dallas win. Thanks for those stats, Mark. There's actually, we'll go through it when we get to this the Packers game, because I'll read you some of these stats, which is pretty crazy. But I think everybody. I have Buffalo in my knockout pool, and I can't imagine anything kind of other than see the over the line, the over underline for me is tricky because I could see 38-7, 31-7, like 31-10, just maybe, something like that. Like I just don't know. Miami's a mess. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there, because when when you're winning, I think Mark talked about this, when you're winning, those antics work and you're wacky. You could be zany and wacky and winning 10 games. It's not a big deal. But when you're 0-3 and you're struggling, those antics kind of fall flat very quickly.
Yeah, and I talked about this, today at lunch with Jim, but it kind of feels like the end of the road for Mike McDaniel and Tua, unless they turn it around, because it feels like both their careers are kind of running parallel. Like Tua, if Mike's out, then Tua's out. That kind of feels like the path that they're going on. But in terms of tonight, in particular, I will say 11.5 is big, and man, Miami has looked awful. And they toss that number out. It feels like it's begging you. It feels like it's begging you to take it. And I
bet it down to 5.5. Like I do. I put it in a part. Like it's just touchdown.
Yeah, because it feels like a number where they're asking you to take this number. Like that's what it feels like. And this is like a backdoor cover spot for Miami, because what people
31-20. You could see 31-20 happening, which would just be a half a point over the over, but not covering the spread. I mean, it's definitely something. Miami, I think Miami's going to score a couple. They'll score a couple.
Because people tend to forget, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill still play football for the Miami Dolphins.
Huh?
Devon Achane is still in the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. Like those are things that are still present and true. And Tua, when he's been healthy, he's gotten banged up pretty good in his NFL career, especially when it comes to his head. But when he's been healthy, though, he's not been bad. Like, he's been not exactly ideal. He wasn't good against Indianapolis, but then he bounced back and he played pretty well against New England last weekend. So as long as Tua plays, an average game, then Miami's going to score some points. And Buffalo's defense isn't invincible. I know they shut down the Jets last weekend, but it's not invincible. I mean, the Ravens had their number for the majority of that Sunday night football game.
Yep. The first game listed on the board Sunday is Green Bay and Cleveland. I'm going to read you some stats from Mark's story here. So Green Bay's Jordan Love has now started 35 games. Here's how he stacks up against Aaron Rodgers through his first 35. Jordan Love is 20-15. Rodgers was 19-16. Completion percentage: Love 63.6. Rodgers 64.6. So 1 percentage point. Yards per attempt: Love 7.5. Rodgers 7.8. Touchdowns: Love 62. Rodgers 63. Interceptions: both 23. QB rating: Love 96.6. Rodgers 98.1. And we will go back a little bit further. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both won Super Bowls in their 27th year. And Jordan Love turns 27 in November, which is pretty interesting. Here's another game with a high line, 7.5. I actually thought this line could be a little higher, 7.5. I guess because, it's at Cleveland. If it was in Green Bay, it would probably be 13.5, whatever. Do you give Cleveland?
How much does home field really matter in the NFL, though?
Nah, it's just
in college, you can attribute it to something like when you have to go play in those 100,000 plus stadiums.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't. In December, I think it makes a difference. But but in Miami, it's 100 degrees. Whatever.
Yeah, but Green Bay going to Cleveland doesn't exactly.
You give Cleveland any chance to win that game?
Would I give Cleveland? No. They have to score in order to win the football game, and that's not going to happen. The Green Bay has the best defense in the NFL. Through 2 weeks, they've been the best defense. And I say through 2 weeks, but I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Mhm.
Like they just look complete. Jeff Hafley has done a fantastic job with that defense in year 2 under him. It's year 2. Like this is year 2. Now they've got the system. Now they've got Micah Parsons. Like these guys are starting to get it. And when you see guys starting to get there's no reason they're going to slow down, especially not against Cleveland. Against Joe Flacco, unless Joe Flacco comes back and has that one game that he has, once every 6 weeks where he throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns for some reason.
They could still lose the game by 15, 2 touchdowns if it happens.
And it doesn't matter. Like Jordan Love has like half of his receivers out. I know he's missing Jaden Reed. I know he's missing Christian Watson. It's not going to matter. Like it just doesn't matter. He's missing a couple offensive linemen. Doesn't matter. Josh Jacobs is still going to run the football well. Those guys are still going to get open. Tucker Kraft's going to do what Tucker Kraft does, and that defense isn't going to allow them to score points. I think Green Bay could win this game 7-0 if they wanted to be honest with you.
Indianapolis at Tennessee. It's a little bit of a weird line to me. Indianapolis only -4.5. Daniel Jones has been unbelievable. I mean, he's got what's he got? 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers. He got a little lucky last week. Lutz hits the goalpost, and then they missed the field goal, and they called that. Yeah, man, you cannot call that on the last play of the game. It happens, whatever. But the line is only 4.5 here. It's just a weird. I mean, I would think Indianapolis should score 30 points, or I don't know. Like I
think
it's a weird game to me.
It's one, and it happens a lot more in college football. But where you wonder if like maybe the books and the models haven't caught up, right? Mm-hmm. Like they still see Indianapolis as X when they're actually Y. And I honestly, that's just kind of what it feels like. It feels like a game that the books don't have pegged right. And, that sounds redundant because, they're in the game to make money. But they were like this way. I remember in, I think it was 2021 when Michigan State went on a run. Man, like I rode Michigan State all the way that year. When they had Kenneth Walker, I rode them all the way because they were underdogs in like half their games. They didn't catch up to what Michigan State was doing until the end of the year. And at that point, I already made money off of them. And it feels like a very similar circumstance with Indianapolis. Tennessee's not a good football team. Like, don't let that result last week against the Rams like change your mind on Tennessee. They're still a very incomplete team.
Cincinnati, Minnesota. Minnesota 2.5. If this line, if Burrow is healthy, which he's not because he never is. I think it's a different line, but look, I don't know. Browning's going to be the quarterback. McCarthy's the quarterback, or McCarthy might be out, right?
Yes,
McCarthy's out. Sorry, I don't know who the quarterback. Who's the quarterback for the hell's the Vikings quarterback?
To be honest with you, the backup for the Vikings, I have no idea. I'm going to see. I'm assuming he played in that game against Atlanta, so I'm gonna go look here. Let's see. No, he did not play in the game against Atlanta.
No. Burrow is out. Jake Browning and Carson Wentz. I should know this. Man, you know what? I'm not saying you can't bet that game.
No, don't touch that.
I don't even want to talk. Yeah, we're skipping this game. Pittsburgh, New England. The game at 1:00. Go if you want. You want to talk about Pittsburgh, New England, or you want to talk about Los Angeles and Philadelphia, because that's probably the game.
Well, LA, Philadelphia. I was just going to touch on Pittsburgh and New England. Like Pittsburgh lost their game last week because of a mental error. Like there's no I'm not saying they necessarily win regardless of, but it put them out of the football game, right?
Yes.
And New England won last week in a weird game where I think they scored twice on special teams. So you want to see more consistency out of that New England offense and Drake May in year 2. But aside from
that, I don't have a feel for that game at all.
No.
Still mad at Mike Ortiz for giving me that Stephen Diggs pick last week.
Where was he at?
It's terrible. Los Angeles at Philadelphia. Clearly the rematch of the 28-22 playoff game last year. Clearly the best game of the early window, you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
A big game for both teams. Philly, another they just win these games. I mean, they're just really, really tough to play against.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where you're thinking here. I mean, it's tough to pick against the Eagles at home. I would think the line 3.5. I don't love the hook, but I would probably bet down 2.5. But where are you thinking here?
I'm actually leaning towards the Rams in this game.
Okay.
Just because Philadelphia didn't look fantastic against Dallas week 1, right? Their offense didn't look great. Just overall, like their defense didn't look great in that first half until the rain came, right? And then you go to Kansas City last week, and once again, your offense doesn't look fantastic. And I'm getting clips of Jalen Carter looking like he's out for a Sunday stroll instead of playing on the defensive line. So it feels like they've just kind of. I struggle with this because I don't like using this word, but it feels like they've gotten a little lucky, right? Just the way the draw has gone. Because say the rain doesn't come against Dallas. Say Dak Prescott continues to play the way they played. Is Philly able to A, stop them without the stoppage of play? And B, if they aren't able to stop them, are they able to continue scoring with them? I don't think so. Not with the way the offense was working. And LA's defense is good. LA's offense is good. They're a well-coached football team. And it's gonna take everything they've got. But I feel like this week the luck runs out for Philadelphia. Like it feels like they've ran into a couple of teams. Kansas City's not hit their stride by any measure. They're far from their stride. I mean, Travis Kelce dropped a touchdown. They left countless points on the board. They left enough points on the board to win the football game. I think that's the most angering thing about the discourse that's been around that Kansas City game and the Eagles last weekend was everybody's talking about, oh, well, the tush push. The tush push didn't lose Kansas City Chiefs that football game. Their inability to convert the opportunities they had lost the game.
They made it was a pretty clean game both ways, and the biggest mistake of the game came Kansas City, and the Eagles just don't, they don't make a lot of mistakes anymore. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and that was the change in the game. I mean, if you play a clean game in the NFL, you're probably going to win most games. I remember seeing a stat one, the turnover battle in the NFL is like the team that wins those, the turnover battle is it's such a crazy record how much better they are. The Bills, obviously, they only had 8 giveaways last year. I mean, and they're one of the best teams. But there's 4 more games at 1. The Jets at Tampa, Vegas at Washington. Vegas had to play Monday night late, 10 o'clock late. And then they got to travel all the way across the country to Washington. That line's only 3.5, which is very interesting to me. Atlanta, Carolina, Atlanta now favored by 5.5 after that win last week. And Houston at Jacksonville. Jacksonville is favored by 1.5 against Houston, who's 0-2. Mark Eccles picked to win the Super Bowl. 0-2, going to Jacksonville with it. And if Jacksonville wins, if Houston loses, they got the Titans, the Ravens, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Broncos, the Jags again. I just don't know. Like, I don't know. This Houston team has been terrible. Like Stroud he just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
Has the league found him out?
I think the most troubling thing, and I don't know if what, like I'm not in the room, so I can't understand what went into the decision making. But when I go back to Monday night, the sequence that lives in my head is that sequence of them at the goal line where they throw they're starting, it's like 1st and goal from the 8. They toss a slant to Nico Collins down at the 1. All right, 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. They ran the ball with Nick Chubb. They got nothing, and they threw it twice, turned it over on downs. You ran the football one time. Like I know he's had some big knee injuries, but man, Nick Chubb's still in your backfield. Like what are we doing? You've got to have faith in your running game in that situation.
Yep.
And for an offense that is playing the way that offense is played, not only so far this year, but last year too. Last year they were awful. They weren't good on offense. And maybe you point to injuries because Nico was out for a decent amount of the season. Tank Dell got hurt again. Like they had their injury problems. But at a certain point, you can't keep blaming injury. Like Nico Collins is there and he's healthy. Nick Chubb is there and he's healthy. Dalton Schultz is there and he's healthy. Like these are guys that actively play for your football team. And CJ Stroud's excuses are done. Like there's no more like, okay, well, it's the slump and it's the injuries. It's time to play football. The offensive line isn't great because there was another third down late in that game where I looked up and I think like 4 guys sacked CJ Stroud on a crucial third down. Like that can't happen. But they need this game. Like it's week 3 and this is a must-win football game for Houston. And I don't think that's like any kind of an overstatement.
Oh, it's a must-win. I mean, I'll tell you talk about right now. If Jacksonville wins, first of all, they're 2-0. And the Colts, if they, the Colts got a game, they got a chance to go 3-0. And Houston's are 0-3 already in that division. I mean, it's like Houston's a disaster. That division, 10 wins has won the division lately. So, if you start 0-3, you're in a lot of trouble. Look, the stats say Jacksonville is favored and should be favored. And I think that's a really interesting game. The other, you talked a little bit about the team they played, Tampa. Tampa's trying to start the 3-0 for the first time in 20 years. And this, like Baker Mayfield, all this guy does is win games. I mean, he just finds a way to win games, and he gives these great press conferences afterwards and great quotes. They lost their right guard. Mulch is out. Igbuka's, he's questionable. Mm-hmm. But once again, they will probably find a way to win that game. They're at home against the Jets. They're probably going to find a way to win that game. And they just every year. So, oh yeah, the Panthers are going to be better, and this is the Falcons' year, and the Saints stink, but like every once in a while they're pretty good, Yeah. And then Tampa's just like, nah, we're winning it. Like, you guys are, they lose Tom Brady, whatever, it doesn't matter. They just keep winning.
We'll get this guy that nobody else wanted, and he's going to come in. He's going to play fantastic.
He's a winner, man. This guy's a winner. He went to the Rams. He was a winner. Look,
and I think it was pretty telling of him going to the Rams and the state that the programs of both Carolina and Cleveland are in. Because this guy's a winner. They kicked him out of Cleveland after an 8-9 season. They would kill for an 8-9 season in Cleveland right now. The way that team looks.
Let me tell you, this is what it's just crazy to me. They won a playoff game. They beat the Steelers in the playoffs in 20 and after the 2020 season. Mm-hmm. He led them to the playoffs. They won. It's just crazy to me. Like, he was a winner there, and then they get rid of him, and then since then it's a dumpster fire. Like, they would kill to have him as the quarterback right now. And the craziest thing about all this is he couldn't even lift his arm in 2021. He could not lift he had a torn labrum. He couldn't even move. And he's going out there every week and playing. And they almost made the playoffs again. It almost made the playoffs. And then they trade for Deshaun Watson. And then, that's been a nightmare. But they almost made the playoffs, him playing basically with one arm, tied behind his back because he couldn't throw the ball. This guy's such a winner. He was a winner in college. He's a winner here. And they get rid of him, and they haven't done anything since. They've got 27 different quarterbacks. It's a dumpster. That whole thing is a dumpster fire now. And this guy just goes down there follows Tom Brady and just keeps winning. Mm-hmm. So
they talk about it. I feel like it's a cliche, but winners, good teams find a way to win football games. Bad teams find a way to lose football games. And I think for Baker in Cleveland, especially, that's still a poorly run organization. And I've harped on it before. It's the same in college sports. It's the same in the pros. It starts at the top. If you have buy-in from the top, it flows down. If you've got belief from the owners of an organization in a front office, and the front office will then have belief in the coaching staff, and the coaching staff is able to flow that belief into the locker room. Like it starts from the top. Nothing at the top has changed in Cleveland. It's the same as it's always been. It's the same poorly run organization. And if you want a fantastic example of that, look at Washington right now. Like, look at it. They made this miraculous turnaround. You say, well, they drafted Jaden Daniels. Yeah, they drafted Jaden Daniels, and they did the right things around him, right? Like, they drafted Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's been a winner. In Tampa, he's been a winner. In LA, he was a winner. Hell, in Cleveland, he was a winner. But they didn't supplement him the right way, and they didn't do what they had to do to be able to propel themselves into an upward trajectory to continue winning, right? And for as long as that stays the same, Cleveland's going to have the same problems. And that's why he's thriving in Tampa. Tampa is a complete organization with great buy-in and a fantastic culture all the way around. And he got there and he's won. Like, he took over what Brady built. It's so hard to maintain a Tom Brady culture because he's the only one that's ever done it. And they've still kept winning. They kept winning the division anyways. Like, it didn't matter. That's the kind of winner that Baker Mayfield is, and Cleveland did nothing with him.
Yep. It's crazy. The 4 o'clock, 4:05, and 4:25 games, Denver at Los Angeles. I think Denver kind of blew it last week. Obviously, I that's my team. I don't really follow them like as much as I did, but I think they kind of blew it now. They got to go to Los Angeles. They don't win this game, they're 1-2, and then they got to. The schedule gets obviously tougher. You got to play the Bengals, Eagles. You got down the stretch you got to play the Chiefs twice, the Packers, the Raiders, Washington, the Chargers again, Texans. So I think they really kind of blew their chance there. They got to win now. They got to win on the road here. New Orleans at Seattle. Seattle 7.5. The 4:25 games. Dallas at Chicago. Chicago's that's a must-win game for Chicago, you'd think. And then Arizona and San Francisco, which has become both 2-0 here, and Arizona once again has both these teams have a massive chance to go 3-0 and really take charge of that division.
I'm very curious kind of about the 49ers simply because I think Mac Jones, like, people forget Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler. Now, granted, you can argue as to whether or not he deserved to be a Pro Bowler, yada, yada, yada. But, he wasn't bad his rookie season is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of a similar premise to what I was talking about in Cleveland. Like, the Patriots, when Mac Jones came in, were not the Patriots. They weren't the same Patriots that Tom Brady had. Like, Bill Belichick was kind of they were in a really weird spot, and he was not in a good position to win. Now he's kind of in a good position to win. I know the 49ers haven't been what they were, back when they were playing Kansas City for the Super Bowl, but they're still a really good football team. And Arizona's a team that's trying to break through, right? This is kind of the year for Kyler Murray. This is, again, talk about the jump games right here. Like, this is one that can propel you forward if you're Arizona. And for the 49ers, this is like I struggle to say, like, I don't think there's a game that is going to be like a jump game to propel them forward into the season, just because they're operating with their number 2. But this is a game that Cardinals kind of have to win, right?
Yeah, it's a big game.
Backup. And in terms of, I go back to Denver and LA right there, and that's one where, again, you look at the head coach, Jim Harbaugh. All he's done is win. Like, it's harp on it. But winners. Like you get people that know how to win, and you get them in the building and you let them do their thing, then you're probably going to get a winner after a little while. Right now, the Chargers have a winner, and it's on the arm of Justin Herbert at that. They're going to win and lose football games with his arm, and as long as they're okay with that, then I think they're going to be in a pretty good spot.
I'm going to talk a little bit about this Cowboys and Bears game. Brian Schottenheimer is going to get a chance to kind of go up against Caleb Williams, who he's got his numbers are just like okay. He's averaging 200. He doesn't.
Okay feels generous.
He doesn't do I feel like he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, if that makes sense. But he doesn't make the big pass. He doesn't make the big play. Last week they got blown out. I mean, defense got blown out.
So he doesn't make the big mistake, right? But he makes a lot of little mistakes that don't show up in the same way that the big mistakes.
Yes, 100%.
Like overthrowing deep balls. He doesn't
overthrowing deep balls.
He doesn't get through
big
his
play. Yes, exactly.
He doesn't when he feels pressure, he's going to get out of the pocket. But when he gets out of the pocket, he's going to make the wrong decision there too because he thinks he's still at USC and can run around like that. I don't know what it's going to take for somebody to like I figured if somebody was going to be able to sit him down and be like, hey, it's a bad habit. We've got to cut this out. And if we do cut this out, you're going to be so much better of a quarterback for it. If we can get you through your progressions and we can get you out of that scramble drill that you like to get into, not that it's always it can be a good thing, but it's not when he does it. It doesn't lead to good things ever. When Patrick Mahomes does it, it leads to good things, right? He's done it. He's done it the right way. But Caleb hurts his team. It feels like in a lot of small ways that don't pick up the same way, big interceptions do.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I was watching that game and I saw him make that. I don't know if it was I don't think it was last week. It was the week before. He made that pass on the sideline, and it was the guy got the 2 feet down. And I was like, man, that's a pinpoint pass. That's a really good pass. And then they just didn't kick on for the rest of the game. They lose. And then last week they got annihilated. So now, and for Dallas, in that division with Washington and Philadelphia, now Dallas has a chance, and Dallas they played all right in that first game. They have a chance to go 2-1. Against a Bears team who's struggling. Schottenheimer's going to show them. I think he's going to cause them problems. I would think the Cowboys have a pretty good chance to win that game. The matchup predictor is basically really, really even there. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of that's a little bit of an eye test game for me. Seattle, New Orleans. I don't know. Seattle should probably win that game pretty easily. The Sunday night game is.
I wonder how many Sunday night games have been between 2-0-2 teams. How many winless Sunday night games have there been?
It can't be too many.
I was saying it can't be a lot. It's got to be. If it is, you would assume it's in situations where you're all
they're
right.
Both 0-1.
Yeah,
right?
They're 0-1. Or in the scenario that you're in here is they're 0-2. Now, granted, that would take two good teams being 0-2, but the Giants aren't a good football team. Don't let last week fool you or anything. I think that speaks more to the Cowboys' defense than anything. Going back to that game, if Caleb's going to have a game, man, it's almost got to be against his Cowboys secondary the way Russell Wilson looked last weekend, right? But then you also go back and say, well, Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs, when they were at their best, pre-injury for both of them, they were fantastic. They were two of the best pick artists in the game. Deron Bland led the league, was trying to set a league record for pick sixes in a year, and Trayvon Diggs was getting one every week when he was at his best. So if they play the way that they used to play, which that's a big if, then maybe they have some problems. But at the same time, the way they looked last week, Caleb's got to take advantage.
I was going to say this too about the Chiefs because the Mark Eckel talks about the Super Bowl losing curse a lot. And the teams, the Eagles a couple years ago started 10-1, went to the Super Bowl. The next year they started 10-1 and then fell apart down the stretch and lost 6 games in a row. Some of that had to do with the fact that their entire defense was decimated. They blamed the coordinators, but man, they lost they lost so many. A lot of stuff happened, but it's hard, when you lose that Super Bowl. And now, I mean, the Chiefs, they're at the Giants. They should win, but still, it's on the road on Sunday night. It's all, it's never as easy as it looks. They got to play the Ravens at the Jaguars once again on Monday night. They play the Lions on Sunday night. Tough game. Then they got the Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Broncos, Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers. There's a possibility that this Chiefs season could implode pretty quickly. Maybe they go 8-9, or I don't know. I think they're better than that, but like I don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe this is the year they finally fall back down to earth. Maybe they go 10-7 or something like this. But I mean, it's a massive game for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna touch on something they did last week, and it's not exactly like extremely football related. I guess like it is related to football, but it's not. They wore shirts that said "Free For" and reference to Rashee Rice. That's disgusting. It's appalling the fact that they did that. Like, are they who let them walk out of who saw those shirts going out on the field and was like, yeah, man, that's a great idea. Like, let's do. No, what he did was terrible. He's lucky that he's in as much trouble as he is. But I don't get that. It is a mind-boggling move by them. It's one that I absolutely like. He hit like 6 cars. I don't remember the exact number, but he hit like 6 cars. He could have killed people. And they're like, we'll free him. He said he did it. He admitted to it. Like, what are we doing? He's serving terms.
6 games.
It's like the Raiders coming out saying free Henry Ruggs after what he did. Obviously, his is worse because of the end result, but it's mind-boggling. It makes no sense why you would portray that look really for your entire organization. Why is that a look for the organization? If I was, the Hunt family, I would be pissed at Andy Reid, like fired up. And then Andy Reid's explanation of it was terrible too. I hope they lose this week after that, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't be stunned if they did. I think people are like, I don't know. People are sick of the Chiefs. This is just what I think. People are sick of the Chiefs. They had this whole thing last year, and this whole thing. They get to they won a lot of Super Bowls. They got a lot of titles. They lost a couple. This whole thing, and this Taylor Swift, and this, and it's like a circus, man. They're a circus at this point, and I don't remember. Like, maybe I'm just misremembering this, but like I don't remember like the Patriots. I know they had like Deflategate and all this stuff, but I just don't feel like it was like this crazy circus to this level. I mean, I know that like once again, like because they were good and the Colts were good and Manning and Brady and all this stuff, and it was like more about football, and Deflategate and all this Spotgate and all this stuff, like, but like it just didn't seem like it was this whole thing like as much. But social media wasn't as prevalent back then as well. But like it's just a circus, man. I think people are just like fed up with it. It's just, I don't know, maybe people aren't, but like I know that NFL, like, they like the attention, but man, it's like I don't need to see Kansas City in primetime every week. Like they're in primetime. They played the first, they played in primetime on Friday night. They're in primetime here. They're in primetime week 5 against the Jaguars for some reason. They're in primetime in week 6 against the Lions. They're in primetime week 8 against the Commanders, which is a big game. They're in primetime, on December 7th. They're in primetime on Christmas Day. I mean, it's crazy. And that's not even concluding the flex games. We haven't even talked about the games they're going to flex because they're going to start flexing games unless they stink. So, it's so many games. It's like I want to see, like, put the Cardinals in there. Put somebody else. I would put the Command. I don't know. I'm just sick of it. But,
I think we've gotten a nice crash course and just how, like, detrimental it can be to be a media darling over the last couple of years between the way
100%.
Colorado football has been. Because, after they beat TCU coming off of that national championship season, everybody was ready to put them in the college football playoff, damn near the national championship game. Same thing with the Chiefs. Like they've shoved the Chiefs down our throats for like 3 years now. And when they first started winning, it was fine. Like I liked the Chiefs when they first started. Like I liked Patrick Mahomes, and over time, man, have they become unlikable. Like Travis Kelce, man, he kind of sucks now. Like I kind of can't stand listening to him do stuff. And the same with Patrick Mahomes. Like, woe is me. They're doing movies. They've got like a TV show about him now. Like,
it's too much. And like, this is like, the end of the Roman Empire, like the last throws, and you're just like, bro, like it's too much, man.
The
It's
only thing that there's two things that I'll say. One, in terms of a Chiefs dynasty and things staying like at the level that they're at. I think people forget with the Patriots and Tom Brady. Tom Brady won 3 rings in his first 5 years, right? And then he didn't do anything for like almost a decade, right? Like they were still playing good football, but he didn't win a Super Bowl for that long. So it's not like Patrick Mahomes is, he's not going to win them forever. There's going to be a period of time where, and maybe later in his career he does the same thing. He comes back, it's like, wow, look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing. But I think a big contributor to the success that the Patriots had, and the reason they were able to maintain it, was Bill Belichick as well. Like the culture that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady built together is not the same thing that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have built together. They built a winner together. I don't think they've built something that's made to sustain for the long term in terms of a culture. Just the way that it is. Also, Tom Brady took a pay cut. Patrick Mahomes didn't take a pay cut. Like that's an imperative too, almost more than the culture is, to be honest with you.
That's when it starts to collapse, man. All that stuff, and then from that Sunday night game, this Monday night game, Detroit and Baltimore, man, that's a big game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last week it kind of like was like, hey, everybody kind of forgot that, they lost both their coordinators, right? When you win the way that they won last week, all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe they're going to be all right. Maybe that was just a really good defense in week 1 in Green Bay. Like it, and between the result that they had last week and what the Ravens did with the Bills, that's going to be a really good football game. Like I'd be lying if I said I had a read, because I know that Jared Goff can show up and do exactly what he did last weekend. But I also know that Ravens defense played really good for half, and then they fell apart. So, are they going to be able to put together a full 4 quarters of football is what's going to be important for them on the defensive side of the football, at least.
Yeah, I think that's Ravens at home. It's a tough place to play at home. I would probably side with the Ravens there, but it's a line there.
I am surprised that it's 4.5 in favor of Baltimore right now. That seems a tad bit steep.
It's come down a little bit. It started 5.5, so down to 4.5. So we'll see if it starts to come down a little bit more or stays around there. So that's a slate as we get ready. Kickoff is kicking off right now.
Yeah, it's about right now.
I think we are ready to kick off on Prime. So we will tune out and make sure Matt, you'll be on tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon with Jim.
Yep.
So listen to Matt. He'll break down a little more college football tomorrow. He'll break down, if you're lucky, you'll get a chance to break down the man, I was looking for it. Where is it? The Charlotte and Rice game, 7-3 Rice, end of the first quarter. And
hey, that's already that's already on pace for more offense than odds makers were ready for. So,
10 points already.
Good for Charlotte and Rice, I guess.
10 points already, and Charlotte's driving and get the ball in Rice territory at the end of the first quarter. So maybe we got some more points coming on the board.
Maybe.
So we'll see. And it was a short field goal too, so they're moving the ball.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so definitely tune in next week. We'll be here every Thursday night. I forget who the game is next week. I think it's a pretty good one. It is the Cardinals and Seattle at home. Cardinals at home. Yeah, it's a very good game. Anytime the NFC West is probably the best division in the leagues here. So, and then we got a game from Ireland, our first overseas game. So we got a Sunday 9:30 game, Minnesota at Pittsburgh. So we got a lot of different games coming up. So stay tuned. We will be back, and make sure you watch tomorrow during your lunch hour and see Matt talking with Jim. All right. Enjoy watching these games, and we will see you next week.